everybody, it's Simone, and you're tuned into the Journey Podcast. This podcast is for women from all walks of life to come together and share their stories through their eyes. So thanks for taking the journey with us. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Journey Podcast. It is Simone Roberts, and I am so excited for tonight's conversation. We are continuing with our Autism Awareness Month, and this conversation that we're getting ready to have is very near and dear to my heart. As I've already told you in our last episode, autism is something that has been a part of my life, people that I've known, that I've encountered on a day-to-day basis. And the person that we're speaking to today is not just my sister. I don't like to say sister-in-law, but she is my sister in love. And I am going to bring her on so she can tell you all about herself. And we have none other than Miss Charesse Roberts-Nelson. Hello, sis.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. So we're going to jump right into it. So I want you, I know you, but I want you to tell the listeners all about you, who you are, all those things, just specifically about Charesse first before we get into the other parts.
Isn't that so interesting? That's probably one of the hardest questions. I am Charesse. I am a wife, a mother, a writer, homeschool mom, basketball mom, and all the other mom titles out there. But more importantly, I am a woman with purpose. And I strive every day to try to stay on that path to try to discover deeper and deeper levels of purpose. I'm always down for supporting a cause, and especially a cause like this, because, of course, as you know, it's near and dear to my heart as well. As an autism mom, it's a journey that it's new, and I am navigating through it to the best of my ability, but I am celebrating my own wins in various ways, because I believe it's so important for us to celebrate our wins as they come. And one of my biggest goals is to try to encourage and help others to do the same on their journey.
Absolutely. Well, you have definitely been that and done that for me over the
Oh.
years. But I want to just get in right into it. So tell us about your journey as an autism mom. Anything that you feel is necessary for us to kind of know the path of, finding out about the autism diagnosis and just all the parts of your journey since then.
For me, it's been interesting. I think it started around the heels of COVID, actually, which was kind of tricky when the world was shut down. A lot of doctors' offices were not taking patients, everything was virtual, a lot of activities got canceled. As a homeschool mom, we thrive on outdoors. We have a classroom set up. As you can see, I'm in our classroom right now. But we do like to go out. We participate in social pods and different extracurricular activities, sports, and things like that. So I have two children on the spectrum. My oldest, Asha, when I first noticed things with her, there were little things like she humming when she eats, walking on her tippy toes. She had a speech delay. I had not a lot of knowledge about autism. I knew of people that say they were on the spectrum or their children were on the spectrum, but I really can be honest in saying I didn't have a lot of in-depth knowledge about it. I
Mm-hmm.
am an avid researcher. So the moment I began to notice things, I started researching. I'm asking questions. I'm talking to one of my good girlfriends that's in special education. That's what her degree is in. So I started asking her questions. Just, this is what I'm noticing. What do you think? Should I talk to someone about it? I checked in with the pediatrician, expressed my concerns. One of the things that I did that I really feel like is so important is just to ask a lot of questions. Like, I had to really be vulnerable to put myself out there to admit that I just did not know. I realized a lot of times not knowing can be a handicap for some. Like, oh, I don't want to feel that shame. I don't want to make it look like I'm a bad mom. I
Yeah.
had to quickly relinquish all of those thoughts and feelings to ask questions. Like, something is wrong. I know that there's something. And I don't really want to say like wrong per se, but there's something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mom. This is my now, fourth child. And my mother's intuition tells me there's something.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I did. By doing that, I talked to her pediatrician. She referred us to early intervention, which we went through those processes, went through the Center for Autism, got the official diagnosis. And I don't know, I think I had a two-part thing. At the onset of me noticing things, I was confused. I wasn't quite sure what I was seeing, but I knew it was something. Once right before the diagnosis, through all the evaluations, there was a whole lot of mixed emotions because
Yeah.
in the evaluation process is so lengthy. There's, meeting after meeting, appointment after appointment. You have to meet with neurologists and psychologists, and then they're asking you all these questions that you don't always remember, like what age did they take their first step and what age did they do this.
Yeah.
And sometimes, just the life, it's like, oh my goodness, I don't know. Like, and it could get overwhelming, it could get flustering. And then there's the guilt, there's the shame, there's the blame, there's the what did I do wrong. I did the prenatal care, and but I thought I ate pretty good, and I did all the things, like how and why. And I know from a spiritual perspective, we're taught not to question God. And it wasn't that I was questioning God. I just had questions like, how did
Yeah.
this happen? What did I do wrong? I compared it with my other previous pregnancies. Did I do something different? Like, what was there environmental change? I
Yeah.
had so many questions, and I had a breakdown moment. I was upset with myself, like, because around the time of my pregnancy with Asha, my husband and I were like in a rough patch. So I'm like, was I too angry? Was I too stressed? Like, I went through every imaginable like facet of feelings in the midst of waiting on the diagnosis.
Yeah.
And then because you don't know what you don't know, you're not sure what to expect. Okay, if we get a diagnosis, what does that mean? If it's nothing, then what does that mean?
Yeah.
When we got the official diagnosis, interestingly enough, by then I felt a sigh of relief,
Hmm.
mainly because at that point I knew what we were dealing with to a degree, and it was okay. There's no more time for blame and shame and all of these other things. We have to get to work because I have
Absolutely.
to advocate for my child. I have to support my child as best as I know how. And the first step of that was education. I have to learn how to support my child. What am I seeing? What is she doing? What does she need? How can I best support her? And how can I equip myself with the tools to do that?
Yeah.
I began to read everything I can find. I started tapping into the resources. I joined the autism mom groups on the social media platforms and just started really trying to put myself out there in the space of gaining as much knowledge as I could get. And while at the same time giving myself some grace and
Yeah.
learning to give myself some grace, because I knew that it was going to be a lot of trial and error. But I'm
Absolutely.
grateful for her because she's been teaching me some days more than I can ever teach her. With my son, um, with Savad, he came about a little differently. I think I was a little more prepared and I kind of knew a little bit more what to look for. The only
Yeah.
thing is his look was a little different because she's sensory avoidant and he's a sensory seeker. So while I'm expecting to look for the things that she had going on, when they say spectrum, it's really a spectrum because he's like here and
Polar.
she's way over there.
Polar
They are
opposites.
like
Absolutely.
polar opposites. She doesn't want to be touched. Why are you looking at me? Why are you breathing on me? And he's like, oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. Let me kiss you and hug you. And it's it's an adventure. Every day is something new. But even with him, there was a little bit of speech delay. There was the forcefulness of him not knowing his own strength. There's the grouping and the sorting and stimming and just different
Yeah.
things that after beginning to learn so much of the different aspects of the spectrum pertaining to Asha, it made it a little easier to identify things with him. And by then, it was kind of like, okay, well, now I know this process in terms of evaluations and
Absolutely. Yeah.
appointments. I'm learning the language, and it made it a little bit easier. So I felt a lot more equipped and prepared by the time his diagnosis and things began to come about. So I was grateful for that. Um, I guess some of the challenges that have come even with having the diagnosis, one of the biggest ones has been to rid myself of other opinions.
Mm,
That's a big one because especially with Asha in the beginning, there's a stigma in the Black community with labels.
absolutely.
One of the biggest deficits I feel or detriments to our children is to not get them tested, to not get them evaluated, just to leave things in the dark with the I don't know, or oh well I think there's something, but I don't want to get them tested because I don't want them to be labeled. I don't want them to be treated differently. But for me, I just kind of feel like, but how can you support them? Because I feel like they're suffering in the end when they're not getting the supports that they need by way of the
Yeah,
therapies, the resources, the IEPs or what have you. When they're in school, if they're not, they may be in a school that's just not a good fit for them.
mhm,
And a lot of parents get the, oh, my child's a behavior problem and they're not, performing well. And yeah, but why? Like, it's not always just it's a bad child. It just may not be a good fit, and it may not be supplying them with the supports that they need based off of if there is some sort of disorder or disability or developmental issue or anything of that nature.
absolutely. Yeah,
um the sometimes family can be a little harsh, again, culturally. Unfortunately, it's just like, oh, there's nothing wrong with that baby, oh, you just need to get her out more, you just need to let her come around family more often. And sometimes it's bigger than that. I've had stares for the way she dresses or her hair was a big thing. Her hair is very coarse, it's thicker, totally different texture than the rest of my children and even mine's. And her sensory sensitivities would not allow me to comb it or
yeah,
brush it, anything to it. So it was kind of like a wake up and go, and it might look a little rough, a little matted, and but she just would not let me touch it. She would scream and holler. I couldn't wash it for a while.
yeah,
Thank God now we can at least get like a poof or two, got a ponytail thing going. Like bows and headbands, all of these things were things for her.
yeah,
And some people, oh well, you need to comb that baby's hair. And what was I even had someone, a friend, like offer, oh well, I'll do her hair as like a gift. I mean, because I guess they thought I was busy and just couldn't get to it or something. And while I believe they had probably good intention, it just, in a way, it also made me feel like a negligent mom in some way.
absolutely.
I had to like kind of break that narrative. Like, no, that's not it. This may be what you see, but this is what it is.
So much more to it.
Right.
Yeah,
And learning to stop explaining myself so much. That's a hard one. I mean, when people are genuinely interested, I have no problem with talking, but
yeah,
I also know that it's become draining for me to explain to people that don't get it.
absolutely. Absolutely. I literally was just having that conversation with your brother earlier about like, that, there's people who no matter what you say, they want to misunderstand you. They say they want to understand, but deep down it's just like, and they already know why. So, getting to that place of comfort to in your journey to say like, hey, this is what it is and it's what it is. And if you really care, like you said, we'll have the conversation. If not, see you when I see you. You said a lot of amazing things right there. I want to talk about like your journey of how has it been for you as a mom, not just like a mom, but like a homeschool mom, a sports mom, trying to navigate and balance not just uh number 4 and 5, but like, being there and being present for, your older children too. How has that journey been for you?
Um, a journey. I am learning every day to, again, celebrate the small wins, try not to beat myself up if I miss something. I don't miss much. I try not to miss much. Scheduling is everything for me. I
Mhm.
live by my planner. If I didn't write it down, chances are
I
it's not
wish.
gonna happen.
Mhm.
I try to plan things around, like try to prioritize as best I can. Yeah, I have to make a lot of accommodations for the younger two, But the biggest thing is I try to encourage my children to support one another, that we are all on this journey together. We're in this together. We're a family. So there are going to be some times we're going to have some long waits for basketball practice to end. We're going to have some long waits at some doctor appointments and some evaluations or some therapies. Like,
Mhm.
you know, we just kind of have to do what we have to do. And they've been great with being cooperative on most days and supporting one another. I vet everywhere we go, so I constantly have to, vet a place before we go. What's going there? What's on the itinerary? Is there going to be a DJ? Is there going to how what's the crowd looking like? Is there going to be a lot of people? Will there be space for me to whisk them away when they're having a meltdown moment? um I have to consider all of those things, keep the car packed and prepared with all kinds of sensory
Everything.
toys and fidgets and snacks. And
Yeah,
so a lot of planning and preparation, and a lot of mapping things out, but then learning again to give myself that breathing room and that grace when something just doesn't go according to plan.
absolutely. So I love to ask the question to all of my guests when they're coming, right? We're talking about this journey. And like you said, you got to pack, you got to be prepared for wherever it is that you're going. So I like to ask the question, what are you carrying in your invisible backpack, right? What is it that has helped you through your journey of as a mom and everything else that you're going through? What has been in that backpack for you?
Well, in the midst of, I think maybe right after getting Asha's and official diagnosis, I started going to therapy.
Mhm.
I realized that it was something that I needed, for me, for many different reasons, and it's been extremely helpful. Just to have a non-judgmental space to have that vulnerability, for someone to be able for me to be able to release. I have a lot on my plate, a lot on my shoulders, with not only the autism diagnoses. 4 out of 5 of my children have a genetic blood disorder called H.T. So that's a whole nother set of specialty doctors and things that I have to be constantly
Mhm.
mindful of, and eating, food preferences and things like that, and restrictions. So sometimes it my shoulders are heavy.
Mhm.
So I had to get to this space to be okay with asking for help. And even if that help was just a matter of 50 minutes of me, for me to
Absolutely.
breathe, for me to scream, cry, whatever I need to do to release it, so that way I can be refilled and pour back into my family, because it takes a great deal of patience and calmness and level-headedness, if you will, to navigate through the many moving parts. And
Yeah.
so therapy has been extremely helpful, forcing myself to take time for myself, whether it's a 10-minute cup of tea in the morning and actually drinking the entire cup,
While it's
reading,
warm.
right, while it's warm and it's not iced tea and have to rewarm it, reading. I love to read. The bookstore is my favorite place to be. So, taking 20 minutes a day or so to try to steal away in a corner and read a few pages. um but yeah, I'm just I try to get it where I can. Sometimes social media, I can scroll and find a little something, and I'll screenshot it just so I can go back and read it again, or print it out and hang it up. A little
Mhm.
small affirmation, all of those things are hugely helpful. And then the support of other moms, the mom groups, I cannot say enough about them, have been so helpful. When you read other people's stories and you feel like, wow, it's not just me and I am not by myself, has
Yeah.
been extremely helpful. I was up one night and I'm like wiping feces off the wall, because this is just one of those things. And I'm like, I immediately grab my phone and I'm texting in the mom group like, today is just not it. I am struggling today. Immediately another mom jumped in. You are not alone, sis. I was just doing the same thing an hour ago, and this and that. And it's, it's like a big hug, like a big virtual hug, and let you know that whatever it is, it's just okay. It's going to be okay.
Absolutely. What are some empowering words that you can share with another mom, entrepreneur, sports mom, homeschooling mom, autism mom that might be traveling a similar journey as you?
Um, Stay prayed up. I think that is definitely a huge one. There are many moments that I have wanted to tap out, quit, give up. Like, this is not it. I don't even know how I got here. But I can be honest in saying that definitely having, whatever your faith is, having that prayer life is extremely essential. It lifts the burden. It definitely makes things lighter. Um, and also just allowing yourself to feel what you need to feel. Therapy has helped me understand that there are going to be some days I'm going to feel up and on top of the world. There are going to be other days where I'm just feeling blah, and it's okay. It's okay to go through the motions, feel what you need to feel, and be authentic and just be intentional about those feelings so that way you can work through them. Have a good support system. Everyone that you think is going to be your support system may not be, so it's important to be able to be open enough to welcome what may not essentially look like your support system,
Yeah,
but what may turn into your support system.
yeah. Before we go to the next part, I definitely want to pause on that. Feel what you need to feel. You've said a lot about just the African American society and all of that, and it's a lot of times where we're told to be the strong ones. We gotta just smile and grin, and don't let it get to you. But I think that's something that's very important, that whoever is listening to this, not just women but men too, to feel what you're feeling, and that'll definitely assist you as you're going through this journey. So I like to do this because first of all, I know you don't like to do it, but we're going to do it anyway. I am going to take myself out of this conversation for a second, and I want you to brag on you. I want you to tell us
Hi.
all about. I know, and if you don't say something, I'm gonna bring it up after you have your moment. But I want you to tell us about all the things that you are doing, how people can support you, how they can hear about your business, all those different things. I want everyone to hear about you. So I'm gonna move my.
Well, thank you so much. This is definitely the uncomfortable space for me, but I'm going to try it out. Um, as far as our homeschool journey, I like to document our homeschool journey. You can follow us on both Instagram and Facebook at Think Big Academy. It's Think Big Homeschool Academy. And I post some of the different trips that we go on, some of the things that we're learning, languages that we're learning, and I really like to just try to spotlight on how homeschooling is really one of the best decisions you can ever make. It's something that we started many years ago, and I really haven't looked back with any regrets. It's been beneficial for my children, especially with special needs, and it's something I would highly recommend. And if you have any questions, you can definitely reach out through the messenger or drop us a comment, and I'll be sure to reach back to you. Aside from our homeschool journey, I am a writer, so I'm working on a new book. My new book is entitled Transparency, and God willing, it'll be coming out this summer. It basically is just a book that is from the heart, and it talks about the different things that I've learned about life through my parenting. Some highs, some lows, ups and downs. And it's not for the parent that's trying to be the perfect parent, it's for the person that needs to know it's okay not to be. So if anything like that sounds like something that could be beneficial for you, which I pray that it will be, please, 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 as soon as it's out, I'll be posting things. I'll make sure that Simone has all of the information on where it can be purchased, and I really appreciate the support. We are all in this together. It takes a village, and I am happy to be a part of yours, and I'm so grateful that you could be a part of my village.
Now I knew she wasn't going to say a couple of things, right? So this is not. So she has multiple books. So we're going to talk about how we can get those other books. We're also going to talk about this banana pudding business. We're going to talk about that.
Ah,
Yeah.
listen, I had to do some of that before I jumped on.
Yeah. So let's talk about it.
Ah, so I do make a really delicious banana pudding. and a few other desserts, apple
Mhm.
crumb cake and some nice homemade down south peach cobbler and some
Great.
pies.
Mhm.
So definitely you can reach out to me for that. When those events and holidays come up, I can top off that meal just right with the perfect homemade dessert.
Man. And one other portion, that hasn't you haven't fully tapped into it, but we're gonna a little bit about classy mom. Yeah, I'm gonna always put you on the spotlight. So let's talk a little about that too, what we can expect for that in the near future.
Oh, Classy Mom. Classy Mom is my signature brand, my umbrella under which I do most of everything. I am currently putting together a website and, God willing, some blogging. Again, with so much going on, it's a little tricky to put it all together just to make sure I'm covering enough. And it goes back to, I guess, that confidence piece and allowing myself to feel what I need to feel. And honestly, right now, my feeling is that it's time.
Mhm.
I've been waiting, like, oh, I have this to do and I have that to do. And I think that this year, God has been telling me this is the season of no more excuses.
Mhm.
And it gets to the point where when you're teaching your children, oh no, you believe it, you can do it, believe in yourself. Oh, what are you waiting for? Nothing's holding you back. And now it's time to look in the mirror and say those things to myself and actually put the things in motion and make some things happen. So there are a lot of things I have working and moving. Finally, I am picking myself up off the shelf. And it's time. It is time. It's time. So I'm
Yeah.
so excited. I am so grateful for this opportunity. This is, I think, my first interview in about 10 years.
Woo.
And I am so excited about it. I absolutely couldn't turn it down. I felt that this was going to be prayerfully helpful for someone else, but I know for sure it's been therapeutic and helpful for me. And I'm so grateful for you and all the great things that you are doing. I'm so proud of you, my
Woo.
baby.
And a journey, yes. But I had to, not just for the autism, but you are near and dear to my heart. Like I said, you are not a sister-in-law, you are my sister. This woman has inspired me in so many different ways. One of her books was entitled "And So I Speak," and I ended up doing a whole poetry cafe entitled "And So She Speaks." This is my
Yes,
inspiration, my big
we're waiting
sis.
for that to come back. It's
Um,
time.
okay, life is a journey and we're getting,
Yes,
it can
yes.
take a lot of different steps, but this was step one of Through Her Eyes Productions coming back. But yes, any last words, anything else you want to say before we wrap this up? Because I've heard my nieces and nephews banging on that door and I know they want you back. So any last words?
Oh, absolutely. They do always. They'll be fine. Just if anyone, has any questions or they're kind of looking at things or have been unsure about some things with their children, please don't ignore it. If there's anything, even if it's something but you think it's a small thing, I heavily advocate screenings. I heavily advocate evaluations and testings. Let's please try to get rid of the stigma about the labels and all of that, because at the end of the day it's about our children. How can we best support them? How can we get them what they need? The other interesting thing is that screenings and evaluations can also lead to other things. It was in a screening for one thing with my son, Savad, when we were doing his screening for his HHT blood disorder, that we now found a heart defect that he was born with that we didn't know. We would not have known that with not screening for something else. And so all of these different tests and screenings and things are so important. And then just to, not be afraid to ask questions, not be afraid to ask for help. Again, there's a world of community out there that with open arms will support you and help guide you step by step. I am here if there's anything I can do, any way I can support with autism awareness, HAC awareness, homeschooling, sports parenting, anything like that. Please, please, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here. I believe in giving back because people gave to me. So I try my hardest to be what either I didn't have or what I did have that helped me.
Absolutely. Thank you again. Thank you to each and every person who has listened to this. Please make sure that you share this because, like she said, there's someone who needs to hear this. Someone needs to know that they're not alone in this journey. Thank you again, Reese. Thank you once again to everyone who is listening. Life is a journey. It is one worth taking. So thank you for taking the journey with us this evening. Have a good one.